You know when something doesn't work out and people start going to, oh, everything happens for a reason, or it will make sense to you one day. And in that moment you're like, oh, like no, like why is this me? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Not toxic positivity, not pretending that certain setbacks don't sting. But I want to speak about perspective and how that's one same moment that you may think is going to break you, to how to change your perspective to something that could actually redirect you in the right direction. Because a lot of the time, I know even from like past experiences, like when something does fall apart, it's so easy to take it personally, but it's not always personal. Like things that happen to us are usually are for a good reason. Like I always say, it's either for a lesson or blessing. And even if it is a lesson, that's a blessing in my eye. And when these things happen to us, we kind of feel like we aren't good enough, or why does this happen to me? Or sometimes, like, we don't even realize that we're actually doing it. I think we do it quite subconsciously a lot of the time. We just seem to internalize it and then not actually deal with it, which I feel like is important to kind of deal with those things and situations. If you keep internalizing stuff, it will eventually start to build up. And there's actually a reason for that. When something doesn't work out, like a relationship, a job, a plan, a friendship, something that you said you were going to do, your your brain will process it in the same way as feeling pain. So rejection lights up the same way as an injury does. So again, for like someone who has ADHD, RSD, which is rejection sensitivity disorder. So when you're rejected in some way or some form, like the pain is actually excruciating, it's unbearable. So when that actually hurts so much, it's your nervous system genuinely thinking that something has gone wrong. And what makes it harder is like just life, like jobs, relationships, the things we have, materialistic things we do. We don't just want a job, we want it to say something about us. We don't just want relationships, we want safety net, we want a future. And a lot of the time, our identity usually comes with those things. So when things end, it's not thinking that it just doesn't work out. You go into a spiral like, who am I now? Who am I now? And what am I going to do? And you end up going into that cycle again of not feeling good enough. Why is this happening to me? But that's the thing about perspective. I've learned a lot over the years about perspective and how to change my brain to actually view things from a different point of view. And I do it a lot with people as well. Like, I always trying to think of it in a different perspective, in a different light, in a different way, because I feel like a lot of the time we assume as human beings, and I don't think we should ever assume anything because we don't always know a certain side or a story fully. So the thing about perspective, and this is important, it never arrives right in the middle when you're going through pain. Your brain isn't designed to suddenly feel wise and calm when you're currently going through stress and high cortisol levels, and your brain isn't going to be able to function in that way whilst your body is under stress. So when you're stressed or disappointed or depressed or grieving, your body is absolutely flooded with cortisol. And when your cortisol is high, your brain is responsible for the long term thinking and the clarity. And that basically goes offline when you have high cortisol levels. So it basically means you can't see the bigger picture whilst you're in that state of mind. So perspective usually comes after all of that, when your brain is calm and more settled. And here's what actually gets interesting. A lot of setbacks aren't random. They usually happen when we're out of alignment, but we still push forward to it because it's familiar, because we do not want to admit when something isn't working out. And I think again that comes down to like the whole failure part of life. Like, guys, it's just bloody draining out here, isn't it? So as humans, we're actually wired to usually stay with what we know, even if that situation would actually feel uncomfortable, because familiarity usually feels safer than the unknown. I think for humans as well, one of the hardest things to admit and accept is that not everything actually ends because we weren't good enough. Some things actually end because we have outgrown. And sometimes something is going to have to take force. And I think that's where perspective really lives. Like, it's not pretending that something doesn't hurt, it's trying to reframe your mind to think it of a positive light and think, yeah, you know what, this situation is crap, but it most likely has happened for me for a reason, and then that is going to take you to something that is actually meant for you. Psychology shows that people who are able to reframe setbacks, not erase them, not minimize them, but reinterpret them, actually experience lower anxiety and higher resilience long term. Not because bad things happen to them, but because they didn't lose the moments that became the definitions. And when you start seeing your setbacks as information instead of something as a punishment or being the victim in life, and stop thinking why these things keep happening to you, it really just opens your eyes a bit more. To be honest, you do start to see the world in a different light, and you start to feel more grateful about things. And when you start to feel more grateful with when you start to feel more grateful about things, your life genuinely just lifts up more. And I think going through life, we're always learning. Like, I can't imagine going a year or a month without learning something new, whether it's about myself, whether it's about the world, whether it's about someone else. Like, I think it's just really important to keep learning as a person. We're always growing and evolving. I think learning about perspective, I think that's genuinely going to make your life just a little bit that more better, because it can shed some light whether you were someone who was overgiving. Maybe you were forcing things that just didn't feel right for you. Maybe you were chasing fulfillment instead of alignment, or you could possibly just holding on to something like the old you that was just no longer fitting. I don't think people actually talk about this enough, but a lot of growth usually does happen after disruption. Like, through all the things I've gone through in my life, I did get to a point where it just shifted like the way I thought about things, my perspective about things, like, and I probably wouldn't have got to that stage unless it wasn't the things that I had went through. There's actually research on this called post-traumatic growth, and it shows that a huge number of people report becoming stronger, clearer, and more grounded after things fall apart. I think we just live in a world where we have to do certain things by a certain age as well. And that's the way like society has deemed it. I don't think anyone should be in a certain spot by a certain age. Like, we're all on a different path, we're all experiencing life so differently to one another, and we're not always dealt with the same cards. It's pretty unfair sometimes to compare your life to someone else. Go at your own pace. Like, if you're in a different position to where you were last year, I think that in itself is growth. Just know what it is, big or small. If it's a mental thing, a physical thing, a job thing, like, if you've grown in some way, you should be proud of yourself, okay? So if you're listening to this and you're in that space right now where things haven't quite worked out, your plans have like shifted, and you're questioning yourself, I just want to say this. This isn't you failing at all. Life isn't punishing you, and you definitely shouldn't give up on yourself either. Sometimes just things don't work out. That's life, I'm afraid. We won't be left in situations that isn't meant for us or isn't going to serve us. But this too might feel uncomfortable as well, but being uncomfortable doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. A lot of the times it just means that you've outgrown your old one, and you're onto something new, and new things are scary, of course. You know, you're allowed to be disappointed. You're allowed to feel things. Like, we are human beings at the end of the day. Of course, we're going to feel things. It's only natural, but having a different mindset to think about perspective in a completely to think about things in a completely different way, it will make you feel so much better in the long run. Just don't harden yourself because something didn't work out. Cut yourself some slack. Okay, just cut yourself some slack, honey. Because one day you'll look back and realize, you know what? I'm so glad I got out of that situation, or out of that job, or out of that friendship, because, darling, it wasn't meant for you. Okay, so just start thinking things in a different light. So just remember, my darling, you're not failing. Life is just currently redirecting you to something that is actually meant for you. And we are going to be on that journey. All of us. We're always on a journey. The journey doesn't stop. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this episode. If anything we spoke about, hopefully it helped you see things in a different perspective. Then I'm really glad, and I really hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.